What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here, and this is the preview for the Valspar Championship. So let's hop right into this. I'm just going to go through a handful of guys that I like or dislike, whatever we come across in the player pool here. A couple of quick notes. This is being played at the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. This is a tough course, routinely one of the top 10 most difficult courses on tour. It's not going to be 20 under that wins this thing. I think 2 out of the last 3 years, the winning score was 7 under. I think 10 under won it 1 year. It's just, you are out there trying to make a lot of pars, trying to take advantage of the par fives and not make too many big numbers. One other quick note, it's a par 71, which is interesting, but it also has an extra par 5. So there's actually 4 par 5s instead of 3 par 5s, which we'll talk about more, but keep that in mind. Okay, so at the top of the player pool, 2 distinct options here in Justin Thomas and Henrik Stenson. The odds for these guys to win this week, Stenson is the Vegas favorite. He's 10-1. Justin Thomas is 11-1. And then the next closest player, who I actually think is Ryan Moore, Gary Woodland, that group, is 28-1. You usually do not see that big of a difference between the first, second, and then third place or third guy with the third best odds. It just is usually much more spread out. So that makes Thomas and Stenson essentially, I think it's like 17% that one of them is going to win this thing. So with that being said, I'm going to be loading up on both of them. As far as ownership goes, so Henrik Stenson WDs last week. He withdraws with an illness. I do not care. I will be all back on him again this week. If you're afraid of him, I don't know why. Go right ahead. You can stay away because he withdrew last week. But Stenson is, I mean, you can look at his record here. He's played, he's finished 3 events this season. They've all been, kind of these non-PGA Tour events. I guess the Hero World Challenge technically is, but the other 2 on the Euro Tour. 3 great performances. Last year, he finishes in a tie for 11th here at the Valspar, a 4th place the year prior. Just one of the best players in the world. And when you get a withdrawal, there's really usually 2 reasons, right? There's an illness or an injury. The injury is the concerning one in case it's going to be lingering. If he tweaks his back, you never know if he's going to do it again with an awkward lie, awkward stance. The illness is kind of the safer one where, okay, he was sick on Thursday. He's had a week to recover. He's probably fine. Like, I'm not too concerned about this at all. If you're going to stay away from Stenson, that's fine. The more for me. And then Justin Thomas, again, didn't win last week, kind of faded on Sunday, shot a 72, but this guy just puts himself in contention every single week. A killer on the par 5, so no real concerns there. All right. As we go down here, I think Kuchar and Berger are fairly interesting, but I won't probably have too much of them. Gary Woodland is the guy who pops off the page as probably being underpriced here. So only $8,900 in this pretty weak field. And Gary Woodland, he just checks off all the key stats for me. So let me see if I have this handy. This is my research spreadsheet that I put together every single week. It's available on dfsondemand.com. Gary Woodland is my 5th ranked player when just looking at the key stats. Those stats for this week include shots gained tee to green, greens in regulation from 175 to 200 yards, and then 200 yards plus. That's where a significant portion of the approach shots are going to be coming from this week. We're also looking at par 5 scoring because the extra par 5, it's going to come in handy here. And then on a very difficult course, I like to also include bogey avoidance. A guy who's not going to make a lot of bogeys on this tough course is going to be, really key. So when you add up all those different ranks, Gary Woodland checks in as the 5th best player when just looking at these numbers. If you look at his recent history here, if I can find him, sorry, just looking at my other screen. He won this event in 2011, so happy to see that he has a winning feeling here. And then he followed that up a couple years later with a tie for 8th So good vibes here, and he's been playing well, right? So, before the match play, or the match play, geez, before the WGC, he goes T2, T5 at the two previous events. If you go back to the beginning of the calendar year with the Farmers and the Sony, two really good showings there. So Gary Woodland, he checks off all the boxes for me this week. I don't think this price is high enough. And just a real quick note on Woodland while I'm looking at it. He has the the third best odds to win this week according to Las Vegas. There are three guys priced higher than him with worse odds. Berger, Haas, and Charles Howe all have worse Vegas odds and are priced higher. So that indicates to me that if we're going by Vegas's standards, Gary Woodland is a little bit underpriced. All right, he's going to be popular, but the Canadian Graham Dillette, another guy who is really just checking off all the boxes for me. My 15th ranked player in terms of just key statistics. He is, the last three times he's played this, so he's played it three times in the last 4 years here at the Valspar. Tie for 5th, tie for 8th, tie for 17th. Those are three really good performances. You can see his recent game logs, great showings at the Honda, the Genesis, and the Waste Management. 2 top 10s in his last 3 times he's teed it up. This guy certainly does not come without risk. He's battled the yips in the past, but it appears that all of that is behind him. I've heard a lot of talk about Graham Dillette around the industry this week, so I do not think you're going to get him at low ownership, but oh man, I mean, this is really just a convergence of really good recent form, really good statistics for the course, and then some really good course history as well. All right, a guy I do have to point out here at 7,700 is Tony Finau. Had a really good start to the season, 3 top 20s in a row, including 2 top 10s. Got cut at the Waste Management, got cut at the Genesis. Pebble Beach, I think he had the rough end of the draw. Remember, they rotate 3 courses there, so I think he had the bad end of that draw. I can't remember, but a little bit uninspiring lately. Hasn't teed it up for 3 weeks or so, but Tony Finau comes in tied for first as my number 1 golfer this week, and it's thanks to, his great key stats here. So strokes gained tee to green, 10th in this field. First in greens and regulations from 175 to 200 yards. 4th in 200 plus yards for greens and regulation. 4th in par 5 scoring. And checks in at 26th in bogey avoidance. So a really elite option in those specific stats. If those stats are going to be determinants of what wins this week, then Tony Finau should certainly have a great opportunity here. I wish he was playing a little bit better. However, the recent form, especially being cut in 2 of the last 3, drives his price down and will probably drive his ownership down a little bit. Not only has he been cut twice out of the last 3 weeks, but he hasn't played in 3 weeks. So, it's like people forget that he even exists. So I'll have plenty of Finau this week, but certainly not without some risk tolerance there. Okay, we'll try to go rapid fire a little bit here and get through a couple more guys. Lee McCoy, very interesting. Broke his wrist in a car accident. Hasn't played since Memphis. So it's been a long time. But Lee McCoy literally grew up on this course. The comment that he made is he thinks he's played this course at least 1,000 times. He showed that last year when he finished in a solo 4th. So this is as risky as it gets, right? How much does the risk impact it? I don't know. The guy knows the course probably better than anybody in the field. He proved that in his one time playing it with a solo 4th. Is he fully healthy? I have no idea, but you can't overlook this guy because of how familiar he is. Jim Furyk, so here's another guy who's had good history here in the past. So let's see here. 2010, he wins, follows that up with a tie for 13th, a tie for 2nd, a tie for 7th. So a really good 4-year stretch there just a few years ago. Even after that, he had a T20, so 5 years in a row he put up top 20s. With 3 top 10s. So an impressive stretch there. What has not been impressive or inspiring has been his performance as of late. So if you're looking for just a course history flyer, Furyk is probably up your alley. And then let's go down here, see if we can find one more. Probably have to point out Lucas Glover, who is literally my #1 ranked player this week, which is unbelievable because he was ranked really well the last time he played at the Honda Classic. I think he was like the second or third highest ranked player. And again, it really comes with shots gained tee to green. He's been really good. And then he's really good from that 175 to 200 range, which is the same thing that we used for the Honda. I think I told you at the Honda, what you're looking for out of him is probably a top 25, which is what he did. Probably little chance he goes out and wins this thing. But, he's made 4 straight cuts this year. He's, seems to be improving nearly every single week. Really good key stats wise. And then let's just check real quick what he's done here. Really mixed results, a handful of top 25s in the last 6 years, but he's also been cut 3 times. So again, you could do worse if you were down in this range at $6,900 and you really needed somebody. I think Lucas Glover is an option. And then that's probably it. Yeah, no one else I'm too interested in down here. Let me just confirm that real quick. Yeah, probably nobody down here. So anyway, that's it. If you're following my quarter arcade challenge, we had just a small losing week last week, but we're still up significantly for the challenge. Check that out in my other videos. If you have any questions or would like to discuss any of these players, leave a comment below or shoot me a tweet. It's at DFS On Demand. I'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.